Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWAS. Continuing on with college football week 4. For the most part, we're into conference play across the board, so we're going to be getting into some good games. Got an ACC matchup here. Georgia Tech, Louisville. Let's go.
Welcome to the SWAS. The SWAS. SWAS. Hey, get the SWAS.
All right, so like I said, we got Georgia Tech on the road at Louisville here. Looks like the Cards are laying 10.5 points at home, and the total sitting at 58.5. This number was at 10, and according to these pie charts that you guys like, take this data with a grain of salt, but the public action is on Georgia Tech, while the sharp money is on Louisville. Again, who knows with this data? I'm just letting you know what it says. So let's go ahead and get into this one, and we'll start with some head-to-head history. These two teams did play last year. It was actually the opener, week 1. We saw a shootout. 73 points scored in the game. Louisville did get the win. It was actually the first time they beat Georgia Tech in several years, but Georgia Tech covered. Louisville was laying 7.5 points in the game. The final score was 39-34. So as far as this matchup goes, are we looking at the same sort of shootout here? Well, Georgia Tech, like I said, they scored 34 points. They had a 47% success rate offensively in that game, 6.98 yards per play. Haynes King was great in the game, 313 yards, 3 touchdowns, and interception, a passer rating over 166. They ran the ball well in the game. They had 175 yards on the ground, over 4.6 yards per carry. The problem was Louisville just ran the ball a hell of a lot better, 6.68 yards per carry, 227 rushing yards in the game, a 69% rushing success rate. 69%. That's insane. 50% success rate is awesome. 69% rushing success rate is nuts. Now, if you don't know what success rate is, so it's 60% on first down, 40% on first down, 60% on second down, 100% on third down. So basically, of the yards to gain, you have to get that percent to consider it a successful play. On first down, you need to get 4 yards. Say it's 2nd and 10, so you don't get any yards. That's a failure. On 2nd and 10, you need to get 60%. So that's 6, whatever. This is boring. But 69% rushing success rate is nuts. That's all you need to know there. Louisville ran the ball all over Georgia Tech last season. But we'll get to Louisville's offense in a second. Let's look at Georgia Tech's offense, and it's looking pretty good, just like it was last year. This team is 23rd in the country in yards per play, 18th in success rate, 13th in PPA. This offense is ranked 20th in OFEI. I do have to say their strength of schedule is in question a little bit. We saw that opener against Florida State, and we were like, oh shit, Georgia Tech was able to move the ball a little bit on Florida State. That's huge. Now we're looking back at that game after seeing what this Florida State team is, and we're realizing it really wasn't that impressive. In fact, part of us is like, why didn't they beat Florida State by more than 3 points? Now, obviously, it was the opener. It was overseas and all that. But if you actually look at Georgia Tech's opponents' DFEI ratings here, I mean, who's the best defense they've seen? It's Florida State. They're currently at 32nd, but they're in a free fall. We just saw Georgia Tech in their toughest test on the road in Syracuse. It was also their first road game of the year, and this is their second road game. 4.7 yards per carry, just 112 rushing yards in the game. Now, part of this could have been because Syracuse was scoring at will and they had to play catch up and kind of abandon the run, but both of these are season lows. So I definitely don't love the idea that the only time we've seen Georgia Tech go on the road this year, the run game wasn't really there as much as it's used to being there. Now, Georgia Tech's offensive line has played really well. Look at the pass blocking numbers on the right side of this graphic. 14th in pass blocking grade, 1st in sack rate, 13th in pressure rate allowed, 23rd in QB hurry rate. The offensive line has been excellent in terms of pass protection, and that's important because Haynes King, I mean, was kind of the same thing last year. His numbers definitely take a dip when pressured. I mean, QB rating goes down to a D. Yards per attempt goes from an A to an F. So yeah, Haynes King, got to keep him clean in the pocket. That's important. But here's the thing. They're on the road in Louisville here, and they definitely have a pass rush. Here are the pass rush rankings for Georgia Tech's opponents so far this season. Syracuse is 47th, Florida State 82nd, Georgia State 66th. So it's not that they've seen complete trash in terms of pass rush, but Louisville is 6th. They're 2nd in the country in sack rate, 2nd in pressure rate, 4th in pass rush win rate. This Cards defense is looking really official. They're only ranked 39th in DFEI somehow, but I expect them to finish the season much higher than that. 43rd in the country in yards per play, 8th in success rate defensively, 19th in PPA. Pretty much picking up right where they left off last year. Last season, they had one of the best run defenses in the country, 18th in yards per carry, 8th in success rate, 5th in effective rush, and they brought back a bunch of production. They're actually 8th in the country in returning production on the defensive side. So I expect that defense to be just as good, if not better, than last year. And in my opinion, Georgia Tech has not seen a pass rush like this. I don't know if they're going to be able to run the ball on the road in Louisville. This should be a really tough spot for the Georgia Tech offense. Now we flip it over to the other side, and we're looking at the Cards offense, and these numbers look nuts here. 2nd in the country in yards per play, 6th in success rate, 5th in PPA. Now, these numbers are dramatically inflated based on the fact that they haven't played anybody yet. They played Jacksonville State, who's currently sitting at 100th in DFEI, and their other game was Austin Peay, an FCS program. Not to mention, that's an FCS program that just lost their coaching staff and most of their roster. So that's not the normal Austin Peay team that we usually see. That's a pretty rough version of Austin Peay. So Louisville really hasn't played anybody. That being said, Tyler Shuck does look amazing. I mean, 581 yards, over 10 yards per pass attempt, 6 touchdowns, no picks. He's been essentially perfect. This Cards offensive line is looking great. Solid numbers in terms of run blocking, solid numbers in terms of pass protection. And Georgia Tech, they have great numbers against the run. Not really much of a pass rush so far. In fact, they're 129th in the country in pressure rate generated. So this Georgia Tech defensive front not getting pressure on the quarterback, and the idea of Tyler Shuck sitting back there in the pocket with all day to throw against a Georgia Tech secondary that I don't think is very good. Yeah, it's pretty terrifying. Louisville should be able to make some plays through the air here. Now, as far as the run game, maybe they take a step back here. I mean, the top 3 RBs on the team are averaging 11.6 yards per carry, but they're all true freshmen. And Georgia Tech, even though they don't have a great defense by any means, it's still going to be the best defense Louisville's seen so far this season. Yeah, Louisville's run game is going to be tested here, and Georgia Tech's defense against the run, I mean, they are improved. I still wouldn't say they're great, but it's the biggest test they've seen so far. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure Louisville has some problems running the ball, but overall, I mean, this offense was excellent at home last year. 34.7 points per game, almost 6.6 yards per play, almost a 50% success rate, even with Jack Plummer at quarterback last year. Now, I know a lot of people like Jack Plummer. I was not one of those people. Even with Jack Plummer at quarterback, Louisville had no problem moving the football at home. And here are Georgia Tech's defensive numbers. Like I said, they are improved against the run. 73rd in the country in yards per carry, 45th in success rate, 46th in effective rush. But overall, this is not a good defense. And look at the pass defense numbers. They can't generate pressure. Tyler Shuck's been essentially perfect. Georgia Tech secondary isn't anything special. So yeah, Louisville's going to be able to move the football here. And just to give you an idea of what this Georgia Tech defense looked in their biggest test of the year on the road at Syracuse, well, the Orange had 515 total yards, 8.3 yards per pass, 4.2 yards per carry. Kyle McCord pieced this defense up, and I think Tyler Shuck's going to do the same exact thing. But the question becomes, are they going to win by double digits? Because we're talking about laying 10.5 points here, and I honestly think the answer is yes. I like this Georgia Tech team. I love them against Florida State in the opener. But they're outmatched here. Louisville's one of the best teams in the ACC. They might actually be the best team in the ACC. I'm sure Miami would have something to say about that, maybe Clemson. But Louisville's right in there with that discussion, and Georgia Tech just doesn't have the defense. So I'm going to say Louisville minus 10.5, whatever you can get, or Louisville team total over. That's where I'd go, somewhere in that department. I don't imagine Georgia Tech makes many stops in this game. If you'd like to see all the bets I currently have open, head over to KyleKirms.com and click on open bets. You can see mine as well as everyone on the staff here. Also, if you sign up to Sauce Network Plus, it comes with access to the Discord, and you can participate in the weekly betting league, $150 and a trophy. Go to the winner every single week. Congrats to J-Law, by the way. He just won. He had Falcons money line on Monday Night Football to win the championship. It was awesome. That Monday Night Football game was electric, by the way. But anyway, yeah, so head over to the website and sign up if you're interested. Let's have live show Saturday morning, 10 a.m. up to kickoff. We'll go through every single game. We went through 28 last week. So, yeah, if you're able to make it, we'd love to see you in the comments. Let's have ourselves a good week 4. We need it. Remember to bet responsibly. I'll talk to you in the Discord.